Welcome to the Imperfect Dads podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Samuel Jett, who is the executive chef of Audrey's in Nashville. When recording this episode, I don't think I realized in real time how many subjects we talked about, but then when editing it, I was like, oh my gosh, we touched on pretty much everything. So we talked about moving to the suburbs and the community that can come with it, having too many snacks around the house, and then needing to lose weight from eating all those snacks, how Sam moved a lot whenever he was a kid, what prompted his move from Charleston to Nashville, his relationship with Sean Brock, his role as an executive chef at Audrey's, his respect for farmers at Nashville, maintaining a garden, memories of his grandparents' garden, all of the challenges of running a restaurant, and some stuff about the Nashville food scene, how he prioritizes spending time with his daughters on his days off, and how he remembers doing chores and errands with his dad as much as vacations and the big moments. I've been wanting to have Sam on the podcast for a while. Whenever we had on Davis Reese, who also works with Sean Brock's restaurants, Davis mentioned multiple times how much of a mentor Sam was and how good it was to be around him. So Sam, sincerely, thank you for doing an episode. You do a million things a day, and I really appreciate you spending your time with us. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the app.
Sam, thank you for being willing to do an episode of the Imperfect Dads.
Man, I'm happy to be here. Glad you changed the name. Now I feel qualified.
Well, I mean, before you were still a Nashville dad. There was no, you might be projecting some implication of if you're a good Nashville dad or not, you know?
Well, I live in Mount Juliet, so it's not necessarily.
Okay, yep.
I'm a suburban dad.
That could be a spinoff, you know, because I never thought the day would come, but here also I am living in the suburbs of a city with kids. So I get it.
Yeah, we waited, honestly, to have kids. Like we didn't have the kids in, then move out to the burbs. We waited, like we were late parents. So
Okay.
we waited and then got in the burbs, got the picket fence, and then
How old are you?
I am 41.
Okay. That's okay. Listen, I've talked to much older dads than that. Okay. So you may
Yeah.
feel like an old dad, but trust me, there are older dads out there.
For sure. Yeah. No, there are.
How many kids do you have in ages?
I have two. I have two little girls. They're 8 and 4.
That's so fun.
That's the magical ages. They're so good. And I've heard it from like so many people how awesome 8 and 4 are. So to have them at the same time.
I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, both daughters. And then my son will be 4 in September. So pretty much he's pretty close to 4. And yeah, like whenever they're 4, they're just like constant wonderment and storytelling. And it's so like fascinating because like even today we went over to a friend's house to pick something up. And the last time we were there, one of the kids, not my kids, of course, had sprayed a hose and it got inside the house. And the dad was like, hey, don't spray it inside the house. So Josh was like, oh, we're going to that person's house. Is the dad going to say, don't spray it in the house again? And I'm just like, I love that that's where you picked up from our last visit with.
That's exactly right, man. Like they've got to remember everything. Everything's so significant, you know, like that's where starting to get those memories like really developing.
It's so cool. What's is your 4-year-old else like? What's a story your 4-year-old or something that she's remembered recently where you're just like, oh man, this is so cute. This is so cool.
That's a good question. I honestly, I think the biggest thing for her recently is she like just got over a lot of fear, and we have like a neighborhood pool, and yeah, so she just got over this fear, and she's been going down the pool slide, and she's like been hounding me for like the last 2 weeks since she did it to come and see it. And today I finally got to go and watch her, and she didn't like, I watched her do it for like literally an hour, just nonstop, just go and go and go and go. Yeah. I don't know if there's any specific memory.
Sure. Yeah.
Up right now, but that was sweet.
That is. It's also like those moments are fascinating because like whenever you see your kid be proud of themselves, you want to like, you have to be like so mentally present for it because that's the moment to be like, you did like do stuff like that. And it's so special to be able to encourage your kid like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So the water slide, I don't like water slides that are enclosed. I like them open because I'm 6'4". I'm a big person. Like the thought of being stuck in a tube, I'm like, I know it won't happen, but what if it does happen? Like claustrophobia creeps in.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, this luckily it's open, and I mean it's it's a family little
Yeah.
pool. So it's not like huge. It's actually really great. It's like kind of the perfect little size. But then like there's a couple water parks around here, like the Nashville area, out in Brentwood and out in Lebanon and stuff like just like monsters. And she loves those too. So when once she got through this one, I think they just went to the one in Brentwood and it has like a lot of slides. And
Yes.
they went
Yeah.
nuts.
There's that really big splash pad that's like in between. Yes. My kids loved that. And I feel like there's one time we forgot goggles and they were very mad that we'd forgotten goggles because water's just spraying constantly. And I'm like, this is valid, but also, can you please go back to playing?
Yeah. Just gotta suck it up, have some fun.
That's right. How long have you been in the Mount Juliet area for?
When we moved, so 2019, so about 6 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah. What made you guys move out there?
Yeah, so we were living in Charleston, and when we came back here to open Audrey and all the restaurants with Sean and all that stuff, we knew we already had Charlotte at that point. She was 2 years old or close to, and we knew we wanted to be in a suburb, and we were looking at Spring Hill and we were looking at Mount Juliet, like just either one of those. Because I really like Williamson County. Like it's nice, but it's also expensive. And we just lucked in it, like the housing market there was at that time was ridiculous. We ended up actually buying this like sight unseen. We had a really great realtor who like, we trusted very well, trusted a lot. And she like walked through the house and it's just like the perfect house. Like that was like, it's the perfect neighborhood. There's a greenway that we can walk them to school. It's less than a walk, and it's got trees and a lake, and it's beautiful. It really is like, and now the neighborhoods, there's got to be half a dozen or more families with kids around the same age, and like it's just special, it's you have this whole, the kids' neighbors are over, or the neighbors' kids are over at our house all the time. And our kids are over at their houses all the time. And it's just become like this really great extended family. It's been fun.
That's how, we moved to Denver suburbs a year ago, and I'll tell to people like, oh, how's the move? How's acclimating and all that? And we moved into a neighborhood in which all the kids go to the same school. They all ride the same bus. So we had like instant friends. I would see parents who were in the exact same phase of life as me every single day. And I'm like, man, if I didn't have this, our move would have been awful. Like we'd still be searching for friends. Like to have that community immediately is like, oh, this is what you want for your kids. You want your kids to be able to go knock on someone's door and be like, can your kid come out and play today?
Yeah, we really do. And and it's been, so Charlotte's the oldest, like all of the kids in the neighborhood. There's a few her age. Mostly they're all Lily's, or my youngest age. And so like Amanda, like all of these parents are having their kids, a little bit after or before Lily. And then they're, my wife, she's amazing. She's like such a people person. She's never met a stranger. And she like gone through and really like sort of talked to everybody, met them at the park, really like sort of helped develop this kind of like, network of families. That's been
awesome.
fun.
You do need our neighborhood or our street has the, I don't want to call them a community organizer because it feels like too official of a title, but like they're the house of, all right, it's Halloween. Cool. We're going over to their house. We're going to take pictures. That's the starting point for all the events. And I'm like, that's nice. Also, it's nice it's not me. Like that's also nice.
Yeah. I will say that we share that, like a lot of share that, sort of responsibility. And, like one family is really big into 4th of July. And so we all sort of congregate in front of their house in their front yard for July. And then, it's been, so, I mean, it's not, I think we're the party house where it's just like nonstop people are coming through and out, and that's cool. So we're not like necessarily the organizer. We're just always like, oh, you need somewhere for your kid to go. Yeah. Bring them over.
Cool. Come here. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something I'm still getting used to. How many snacks do you have like in your pantry? Because I feel like there's always the kids who come over and like, even if you literally were at their house and eating lunch, they come over and like, can I have a snack? And you're like, How many snacks? Like, I thought it was just my kids feeding snacks is already a whole new grocery bill. Do I have to feed the neighborhood kids also?
Yeah, I think no, most of the parents here are pretty cognizant
Okay.
and respectful, and that's really not. And that to be said, like if a kid's hungry, we're gonna
Yeah,
get
you feed them. Yeah.
like yeah, and it's not a big deal. I think having snacks in the house are dangerous, man. I think it's
Yeah.
more dangerous for me than anybody else, but um, Amanda does a good job keeping like healthy snacks stocked, which is nice.
I mean, if there's a bag of like, I always tell myself in the grocery store, like, hey man, you're buying cookies. You know, you're the one who's gonna eat 50% of these cookies, right? Don't say it's someone else. You know it's you. So that's the metric I go through in my head before I grocery shop because, yeah, similar. If there's a pack of candy, if there's a pack of chips or something like that, I'm gonna eat that whole thing in one night. I'm not gonna be proud of myself, but I'm also not gonna stop.
That's exactly right. That's what makes Halloween so fun.
It's so dangerous. It's like you see your kids think like whenever you go through your kids' Halloween bags and you realize all the candy they aren't willing to eat, and then you're like, well, I have to eat it then. Like, I'm just trying to be responsible here. Yeah, exactly. Yes. I think Davis told me, did you used to like, even you just saying that a little bit, did you used to like be a little bit more overweight or like, did you have to get your weight under control at some point in time?
Yeah, I used to weigh. I think at my largest was like 330 something, 300 pounds, and then I got down to 150 pounds.
Oh, damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, and then I've just been slowly like putting it back on, like not at night, like well, and like going to the gym, trying to do it in the. And so right now I hover, I stay like right around 200, 210.
Okay. Yeah.
So, which is still pretty big, but I'm still sitting in medium shirts and things like that, so it's not too bad.
Yes. I kind of did the same thing where I used to be about, I think the heaviest I got was 240 or so or something like that. And it was mostly just because I used to work office jobs in which people would bring food and I would just eat the food. And like it was just all this subconscious, on like, I don't know what word to use for it, but if it was there, I would eat it. And I wasn't ever checking, like, hey man, are you hungry? You just had lunch. You've already had a piece of cake.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if it was similar for you, but if there's food around, I just ate it. I didn't think about consequences. I just ate it because it was there.
I mean, yeah, and then like I wasn't exactly leading the most healthy lifestyle. I was like, in kitchens you just work nonstop, and then my job was to make food so delicious.
Yeah.
And like, what do you do when you're just surrounded by something that you yourself made incredibly delicious? So you think incredibly delicious, and here is like, a pretty much unlimited supply of it. That and I used to drink Coca Colas like they were going out of stock.
Dude, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that was like the biggest thing is like Coca Colas. Like once I stopped drinking that one, I think that was like the first 80 pounds.
Dude, yeah. I've heard people say that also with beer. I don't really like drink sodas at all anymore. And I'm sure like I don't think I ever realized how much sugar, how many calories, like what I was doing to my body just because I thought it tasted good and it was sweet.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, it's sugar. So your body takes a hit of sugar. And I was like, how do I get as much of this as I possibly can?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's addictive, man.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
is. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It is what it is.
yeah, they did a good job. They nailed it.
They did. How long have you been a chef for?
I've been cooking since I was like 15. I mean, like I got
Yeah, yeah.
paid. I was like 15, but I was like
Okay.
it was like McDonald's and Hardee's, and, like so. And then I was like right after high school, I was going to community college, and I worked at third shift at McDonald's, and then I worked first shift at Cracker Barrel.
Okay.
And then literally like just get out. I would walk out of the store at like 5, 6 a.m. and then like change shirts, smoke a cigarette,
Yeah.
and then go fry like eggs for 600 people, and then go over to community college until like 3 or so in the afternoon, and then go home and sleep, and then go right back to it. And then it was like one of those moments where I was like, if I like, I was happy. I was like so like all day. I worked nonstop. I loved it. I probably, going back to the whole like it's addictive thing, probably a workaholic, but well, I know, but it was great, and like, all right, well, if I can do this, and I love doing this, then it was one of those sort of revelations to me. Is like, I was in school and I wanted to go into medical, but like sitting through the class was just so boring. And if I can't sit through an hour, 2 hour class of like organic chemistry, I found it fascinating and I really enjoyed it. It was just completely boring. And if I'm going to do something for the rest of my life, it can't be something that I just,
Yeah.
bored.
Yeah. And a lot of those subjects with med school stuff, I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm fascinated by this. And then if someone's like, now explain it to me in detail, I'd be like, it's not that fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, not at all. And so like cooking, like I went to school for it. And I think what I like about a lot of it is it ticks a lot of those boxes where I can really get detailed with the science. Like I can get really detailed with the science and the physics, which is what I prefer. I prefer physics as like a science, and really get into it. But also there's the art, and then the if that's not enough, then there's the physical labor portion of it, and if that's enough, there's the mastery of it, and the knife work, and the like really like pushing yourself to like really get everything dialed in and perfect and stuff like that. And so it's just one of those things where it's like it's this world that never stops. So I've enjoyed that.
Nice. Do you have any perfectionist tendencies to you? Okay.
I think honestly, the older I get, the less they exist, or at least I don't know if it's the less they exist, the more that I appreciate imperfection, and like the more I study sort of the romance behind food, and because now I'm really focusing on Appalachian cuisine, which is
Of
like
course.
like grandma. It's
Yeah.
like sitting at grandma's cuisine, counter, and I got to do this with my grandma, like sit there and like help her make biscuits and then watch her pork tenderloins and trying them with and like it wasn't perfect food, you know, was like she never made anything like perfect, but it was the most delicious thing that I could think of because the biscuits were absolutely fresh.
Yeah.
Had this thin pork tenderloin that curled up when you fried.
Yeah.
The fat cap never really rendered, and you had that burst. And it was like those were the things that made it so special. And now it's like now I spend most of my time trying to chase how can I get that sort of that romance, that love in food, but still present it and still treat it in such a way that it's, fine dining or however you want to say it.
Yeah. You're trying to figure out how to elevate your grandma's kitchen, which my grandma's kitchen was never meant to be elevated in the first place.
Like it was braised green beans and
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
Where'd you grow up, or where'd you go to community college at?
I went to Cleveland State Community College down in Cleveland, Tennessee. So
Nice.
I was born there, but I probably moved at that point. I probably moved a dozen times. When I moved back to Nashville, I moved 27 times in my life.
Why did you move so much?
So my dad was a plant manager for TVA, and
Okay.
what his big, and it's a power company, and what his big role was that he would, if there was a power plant that wasn't performing correctly, whether it was monetarily, safety, efficiency, doesn't matter. He was Mr. Fix It. So he would come in and he would get it up to spec, and then they would move them to the next one. And so we moved a lot when I was younger. I think the longest we ever stayed anywhere was like Memphis, and that was only like 3 or 4 years. And then so we ricocheted like from into the Nashville area probably 3 or 4 times, but it was like it was never in Nashville. It was like McEwen and
Okay.
Paris.
Yeah.
So I lived all over Tennessee, like literally every square inch of Tennessee I've lived in. At the farm out in Jefferson County, which is north of Knoxville. So I had like, that's been kind of our anchor. And then my other half of my family has a farm out by Cleveland.
Okay.
So we have land in those two areas.
Dude, yeah, if he worked for the TVA, the opportunities of where he would be needed are kind of endless in an entire state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was the coal, like he was coal, he focused on coal powered plants. So like that was, and that was sort of his like bread and butter. I mean, I think he did, well, I know he did his master's on like population control of like zebra mussels on the dams, the power plant.
That's crazy.
So like like, like he did do like dam work too.
Yeah.
So it's like hydro powered stuff as well, so which is also wild.
That's pretty cool. I hate for your sake you had to move that much as a kid, but that's, as an adult, I'm like, I'm fascinated to know how that stuff works.
Yeah, yes, but I'd be honest with you. I think I don't. There was times where I was like a little, sort of, especially going through it. But now I'm so thankful. Like it's I don't think I would be as okay with like the transient nature of kitchens and
Yeah.
like coming in and out of your life, like if I didn't have that. And we, as I moved from different city to different city, I would collect a different friend and I would still talk to, like, I still talk to them, and it's like 40 years later and I'm still talking to these. So I think there's something special to that. I know there's like a lot of army kids have to go through it and stuff like that. And I do think, and like, there's a level of like, I don't know, it just breeds a special type of human.
Yeah. I think because Nashville is a very transient city. I lived there for like 18 years. And so I had multiple rounds of friends. And I think the lesson I learned from that was just very much being like, hey, I don't know how long you're going to be in my life, but if you're in my life for a week or two, how do I show you love? Like, how do I connect with you and be grateful that you're here at all? And anything else I can't control. So, hey, I can control that I'm nice to you today and I'm trying to figure out how to know you better. So let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So does that have, for you being a dad, have you been able to be more stable with where you live, or have you moved a couple times as a father?
We've only moved once
Okay.
since we had Charlotte, and we were living in Somerville, which is a suburb of Charleston.
Okay.
Like, we had planned to stay there for like most of, like, up until Charlotte was like ready to go into elementary school, and then kind of find a different area for school purposes. And we moved here. I mean, again, luckily it was just like one of these sort of fate things. Sean asked me to come and do this, and I said yes, and moved up here, and the schools here are great. And it was just, all right, this is perfect, and that's it. We've sort of like posted up here. Charlotte, she's had 6 years here. Lily's had her whole life here, so it's been pretty special. I mean, who knows? They're still young. Life is still unpredictable. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up on like gypsies again. But
yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's always funny whenever because we also, whenever we moved out here, part of it was school. Like, we wanted to move out near the mountains, and we knew school systems were good out here. But it was a realization of the next 15 years of our life are getting small humans through school, so that needs to be a priority. And one of my favorite things is to talk to my friends who don't have kids, and whenever they're trying to buy a house, because they can go anywhere. They don't have to think about school district. They don't have to do anything. There's like, does this fit my needs? Do I think this house is pretty? And I'm like, it's not simple, but it's certainly simplified.
Yeah. It makes it a little easier.
It does. Were you working with Sean whenever you're out in South Carolina?
I was, yeah.
Tell me what all you do with Sean, because I feel like you were like director of you were like, I feel like you seem like you're his right-hand man, but also you've kind of got for a while there, you had a hand in almost every restaurant that he was opening and touching.
Yes. I first started with Sean like as a line cook at Husk in Nashville. Threw away like a nice chef job for this, and like went from making a good salary to $11 an hour.
Fantastic.
And then worked my way up to executive sous at Husk, left, and went to Raleigh. And then he called me back to do the Charleston thing. And then at that time, like, that's when I became sort of his right hand. I opened up 4 or 5 restaurants with him during that. And this I was just over the whole culinary. And then when we came here, that's what I was planning to do, was sort of that. But we were able to find like these just absolute stunners, like these absolute aces in the culinary side. But he needed somebody to do the operations. So he needed somebody, accounting, the HR, all that stuff. So I just took that on. And so handled that for the whole company. COVID really threw a wrench in a lot of that. At least leveled that, made that game, put it on the difficulty level, was at the highest. So now, now I don't get to work with Sean anymore. He left Audrey. He's now focusing on like Show, the pizza joint. He's got Darling, this restaurant in LA. He's got Joylands, and he's got some things he's working on. Um, it was one of those things where Audrey was going to live on, you know, like in some form or fashion. And I wanted to make sure that it lived on doing the same thing that we sort of dreamed that restaurant to be. Cause it was his dream restaurant that he was, that was his baby. It's named after his grandma, but you know, the same reason why I left Charleston and the same reason why I followed him this whole time is because we both have very, very similar beliefs on food and cuisine and family and heritage. And we're both from the same areas. And, we both have family from the same part of Virginia. And, like most of my family has come over to the Tennessee side, but it's still up there in Appalachia. And I don't know, it just means a lot to me. And I want to make sure, like, the guy's given me so much in life. Like, I still consider him like one of my biggest mentors. So I just want to make sure if somebody's going to take that legacy and like take it head on, it needs to be somebody who really knew what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know like Davis had mentioned, like for Joyland, for 2020 stuff, that like that area got hit by a tornado and then it was COVID. So like in 2020, you guys had a rough start for a lot, to put it casually, I guess.
It was crazy. It was absolutely bananas. These last 5 years have been the most tumultuous, like, if like absolutely insane. You know, they had a business plan that was supposed to be like an 8-year plan. COVID happened and we had to take these we had 4 restaurants we had planned to open, and they were supposed to take about 4.5 to 5 years to open. Had to take all of them and just shrink them down and condense them to. We opened them all within a year and a half, and that's not easy.
No.
It was not easy, and when we had, it's like the biggest thing was like trying to get the infrastructure up like as soon as possible to sort of weave everything together. But you're still just this like little independent company, so you don't have, we were lucky that we had like an incredible business partner, Paul, like just absolutely awesome. But it's, you still had like this huge sort of goal you had to hit, and frankly, like the revenue wasn't there. Like COVID sort of killed restaurants, and like now it killed a lot of restaurants in Nashville. And now the restaurants that are coming in, like you just have so many chains in Nashville that are just coming in, and it's like all these independent mom and pops that if they survive COVID, now I'm afraid for everybody now, because it's like, there's it's an inflated market.
Yeah. No, or like I mean, I still remember going to Rotiers or JJ's Market. A lot of places in the Vanderbilt area. I remember going to, and like, yeah, if you're a small diner and then someone comes in with bigger city money and capital and they've got investors, uh that's a lot. That's a lot to overcome.
Yeah, good luck. And that's kind of, it's, I think we're going to lose Choi now.
Yeah, I think so. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, barely made it a year. And like that
Yep.
place was, dude, it was
Yep.
so good. And just, there's not enough attention to it. And it just boils down to marketing and awareness and all that stuff.
Yeah, it does.
So,
But also, restaurants are such a hard game to get into and to keep afloat and keep successful.
yeah, I mean, it really is. It boils down to like consistency and location. If you can nail those two, then you've got it.
Yep. We've had on, it was like years ago now, but talking to Carl Meyer, who runs Black Abbey, and him talking about like the exhaustion of having your staple beers, but knowing people constantly wanted new things. So how do you have things that people can predict, but also excite them at the same time?
That's so the way that I'm running Audrey right now, that proves, I think, more of the consistency part. Like having something that people can rely on is the more challenging, in the fact that I'm only buying what farmers have here.
Yeah.
So I'm not buying. I'm not importing olive oil. I'm not like, if I'm using vinegar, I'm making vinegar like outside of like your apple ciders and your white vinegars, which you can get from around here. And so my menu has to change all the time,
Constantly. Yeah.
constantly, every day. And it's beautiful because everything stays vibrant and fresh. And I push everybody to a point where they don't have Like my goal is to push us to a point where we don't have enough time to think about the food in a way that we can manipulate it a lot.
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you get your product in that day, it's beautiful, and you're racing to get it on the plate. And so because of that, I can't take the nature away from it. Like the carrot walks in, I'm just gonna have to be able to, like, I'd be lucky to cook that carrot in the perfect way, and that gets a plate, and that's all it takes. But I find like that's going back to that original sort of thing that I was saying. Like now, that's what's giving me or letting me find that imperfection, that soul, that those like little chewy burnt bits that are on the edges of everything. That's where all this comes into play. If I have a tendency. And I think all like chefs who have spent any time like true fine dining or like Michelin or anything like that, or tasting menus, you have this tendency to overthink things. You have this tendency to take things apart and put them back together because you can. And like that's kind of the name of the game. But what happens if you don't and like use that ingenuity to purify and edit? That's kind of what I'm focusing on now. So I guess we do have like our staple breads, and
Yeah, sure.
the proteins will never change. Like I'm always going to serve Bear Creek Farm beef. I'm always going to Bear Creek Farm pork. The cuts are going to change because we're using whole animals, but it's going to be those things. And we're always going to have trout from Bucksnort, which is right down the road, and it's always going to be prepared in the same way. So I guess like there's that type of familiarity that will stay, but the vegetables that accompany it in the sauce, that changes all the time.
Speaking of restaurants that COVID killed, and like Bell's Bend, did you ever go to Old School Restaurant?
Yeah, I went a long time ago.
Okay. I feel like they were similar, that of like, hey, what did we grow on the farm today? That's what's for dinner. Yeah. No, I think Arnold Mint for International Market has told us that that's how he tries to do all of his Thai dishes also, is like what's in season. Like I'm not going to have a green curry every day. I'm not going to have pad Thai every single day. It is what's in season, because if you're in Thailand, if you're like, let's actually do a real farm to table, like what's actually being grown right now, and let's do that and be creative with that instead.
Yeah, and I think everybody talks about how awesome the Nashville food scene is, and like it is amazing, but it's amazing because of the farmers.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that I'm trying to get across to people, is like the reason why restaurants like Rolf and Daughters and Us, and like they're so very successful because the farmers are so damn good. Like, and that's not to discredit anybody, like any of the chefs. I know they're also good too, but it's like we have this sort of, and I've traveled from city to city, state to state, and country to country, and I've tried some of the best restaurants in the world. Like like each one of them have a different flavor. Like the restaurants in California are playing on a different playing field than we are, and then in New York it's different. Like the flavors are different because the soil is different, because and Nashville just has this, like, I guess 20 years now of like really focusing on farms, like the local food scene. And now there's a lot of farms who have just gotten really freaking good at what they do. And then a lot of new farms that are coming in and like just changing the game.
Yeah. 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 I had some friends who lived down in Bell's Bend, and they would do like big square dances out there and stuff, and have like the local farmers bring all their produce and stuff. And it was always, I never felt more Southern than eating like freshly grown produce at a square dance in the middle of the summer at nighttime. And I'm like, this is pretty fun. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best. That's awesome.
I always forget about Rolf and Daughters. I feel like it's because I had friends who had a farm in Bell's Bend, and they would sell their produce to them. I don't think they do it anymore, but yeah, Rolf and Daughters I feel like was one of the OG of
Bill's one of the best. I mean, like I think, in my opinion, criminally underrated. Like that was the restaurant I took Amanda to when we first moved to Husk in to Nashville in like 2012, 2013, where I was like, we have to come here. This is the food scene.
Yeah.
Here, like, this is where we need to like sort of, like level up ourselves. And, I think he's freaking awesome. Good dude too.
Yeah. Now it's, you kind of go into a new market and you're like, what's my new standard? Like whenever I eat here, this is what I'm hoping for every time I go out to eat.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool. So how long have you been like executive chef for Audrey's? It's pretty recent, isn't it?
Yeah. So the transition started in March. I mean, I was doing both general manager and executive chef for most of February, almost all of March. But like at that point in March, South Hall, which is Paul's sister property, sort of
Okay.
have gotten involved. And I'm very thankful for like that sort of relationship and how it's starting to come together because they're awesome at what they do. And they started jump in and help. And then, they sent over a task force manager, one of their managers, lady named Hannah, who is now the general manager at Audrey. She's like sort of been a blessing of she's taken so much off of my plate. So now I can start to focus on the food. And I mean, this is all, I think she started like officially at the end of April. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I guess, so it's been about 4 months.
Okay.
I didn't start changing the menu until March. And then that's sort of when I went nuts and everything got out at once, which is like the worst thing you could do, but it worked out.
Yeah. If I can ask, with your new role, how's your work-life balance feeling, or how's like your availability to be around for the daughters and everything? Because a chef's life is pretty much constant, takes everything out of you.
Yeah, it's, I think you hear the term seasons,
Yeah.
like one of those seasons. And, I guess it's one of those, I've had a lot of them in the last like 6 years with everything going on where I'll have 4 or 5 months of just work, don't get to see the, and then I'll have a season of like a year or two where it's just sort of balanced and I get to spend a lot of time with them. And, I'm really thankful for my wife, Amanda, during all that. She's a trooper, like she's basically solo parenting like right now. And I'm lucky that I'm at the point where I'm able to make sure that I'm here for like the big ones, all the award ceremonies at school and most of the holidays. I think that the before, when I was the director of ops or the GM, there was a little bit more leniency of getting away from the holidays. But when you're the chef, you don't get that. So like Easter, I was working and stuff like that. But we just did Easter early, like before I went into work.
Yeah. Well, like you being a chef isn't anything new to you and your wife's like relationship. So I'm sure you've got like things where you're like, here's how we can predict this. Like as soon as you know, hey, here are the days I got to work. Here's where I'm most helpful. Then you work around it. I'm assuming.
Yeah, we do. Like she's, like when I'm off, she's really kind about making sure that I'm, how are you doing? How is this week? How's your stress levels? Like, she's really great about that. And then, me, of course, I'm trying to just do it all. So I'm like, yeah, just give them to me. I want them. I want them. I want them. And I get to spend, my days off. I'm with them nonstop, and I want to be,
Yeah.
outside of chores, you have to do the chores. But other than that, like today, we spent the day at the pool and took my eldest to the library before that. It was fun.
Yeah. I always find it fascinating, like, to redefine what scarcity means to me, and like scarcity of time with your kids. A day, maybe 2 days off. I'm sure those 2 days feel very much like, all right, I'm making up for lost time. I want to make sure to connect. How do we do this right to some extent? Because I'm not going to be able to get back to this place until 5 days from now, 6 days from now.
Yeah. I think when there's an abundance, it's easy to take it for granted.
Absolutely.
And you're dead on with the scarcity. And I think, then I think for me, it's like getting that pressure. Like, I have 2 days off this week. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
How can I, what can I do that's really, really fun? And then you're just like trying to figure that out. Then I got to remember, like, it's not always supposed to be a great time.
It's not.
Sometimes it's just picking up the room with them or taking, maybe it's just a walk. So it's one of those things is like, and then, and my dad, and he was really involved in like scouts and things like that, but like he worked a ton too, like an absolute ton. And when I was with him, it was like, we were fixing things or painting the house or, like it was nonstop chores. It wasn't like we didn't go to the zoo every weekend, like that. that's just what it is. And that's what I keep reminding myself is like, I probably learned more from him through the mundane than I did at something special. And so that to me is like where I'm really trying to take those moments of, I don't have a, for me, when it's more about how much knowledge I can impart in that little bit and hope to God that they receive it. But like that's what I'm trying more than anything is like, how much can I get across and hope that they get it.
Yeah. I mean, to some extent, if I think about it, like if you have scarce time with someone, your first thought is, how do I make a memory? And in my mind, if I'm going to make a memory, let's go to a concert, let's go to a movie, let's go out to a fancy restaurant. Like if my wife and I get one weekend every month to do something fancy or fun or get a sitter, it's like, oh, we better make sure this is good. And it's like, well, what if like you just put the kids at someone else's house and you just watch movies all night, like at home, like and eat ice cream? Like that's
Yeah.
also a good memory.
Well, and that, yeah, exactly. And like, we do a lot of farm trips, so I'm taking them to the farm, and then like, so I think I am more prone to be, especially like the eating ice cream thing. It's like, I'll take them to go get a donut, or I'll sneak a donut or something. Then I'm like, they'll be, I don't want another. I'm like, all right, take another. I don't care. Like, and then my wife, who spent the last 56 hours making sure they eat pristinely and cleanly, perfectly, and then finds out, they come home, Dad gave me 3 donuts, and then like, what the hell, Sam? You just blew their entire diet,
Yeah.
and but there's like this tendency to want to make sure that they feel special during
Yes.
that time, and that's why I do it. But really, you know, I have to keep to myself like that, or keep thinking to myself, that's where it's like, oh no, you can draw the line. It doesn't have to be this craziness.
Yep. Nope. Being home during the summer with 3 kids, I'm like, oh, let's get a treat today. And it's like, Devin, you got a treat yesterday. Like your kids don't need a fun treat out every day. And I'm like, but it's fun to get a treat. It's also, I'm a little like ready to have a treat also. And it's like, well, then that's about you, man. That's not about your kids.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially like the kids know if I'm home, they're like, oh man, we can get some ice cream after dinner. You just had a birthday cake. We're at a birthday party. Birthday cake and ice cream. That's your treat. That's
You're
it.
good. You're done. You don't need more than that. Yeah. My wife travels for work pretty regularly, and I'm a stay-at-home dad. So we deal with that similar of like my wife be like, hey, let's go do this. And I'm like, actually, that undoes what I just told them. And she's like, well, I had no idea that happened. I'm like, no, I don't want this to be a fight. I'm just telling you, if I'm like, it's because I just spent 2 days counteracting the energy that you just not destroyed, but you just also then said, no, I'm going to do this. But you're also trying to have fun and connect with our kids. And I want to encourage that. But also, can you not do it in this way? And I have to say that in front of the kids, which doesn't work out well.
No, no, it never does.
It doesn't. And like, as the partner on the other side, you just be aware of intentions. Like, hey, you're trying to connect. You're trying to make it special with the kids. And I respect that. Let's think of something else.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
In the moment, I'm not that calm to say that. But right now I am.
Yeah.
Do you do a garden at your house? Do your girls help you out with gardening stuff?
Yeah, they get less and less interested with the actual like weeding and like making it. But yeah, we have a couple raised beds, and then I have a couple corners of the yard where I just throw seeds in and see what comes. But it's fun. Like we go out every couple mornings. Like I'm out there most mornings and just like tending it, but every couple mornings we'll go out there, and like right now okra's shooting up, and then we never do enough to like, maybe we'll get a dinner out of it one day every like 4 weeks, but it's mostly because we're out there. Like this morning we're out there grabbing okra right off the thing, and like but I think that's something for me is like really trying to make sure that they know where good food comes from, and like how special that okra is right off the plant versus like what you buy in the store that's been there for whoever knows, wrapped in cellophane, or like what happens to corn when you pull it off the stalk and how amazing it is right in the field versus like what it is after it's been refrigerated, and like the chemistry of how that changes.
Yeah. And also just the flavor differences of
That's
something
why
it's just insanely different.
Yeah, it's a completely, like corn's a big one for that. As soon as it hits refrigeration, the sugars start to turn to starches, and it's
Seriously?
yeah, and it's like it starts to convert because that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to like preserve itself. So it just, because it's still sort of living. It's just dying slowly. It's true. And then so it's converting all those sugars that, off the stalk are like so prevalent. And then once it hits the refrigeration, it's over.
That's fascinating. We grew okra once, and okra flowers are gorgeous
They're amazing.
and huge. I'm 6'4", and I feel like the okra was taller than me.
Yeah, okra can get big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get really, really big. It depends on how deep the soil is, how big
Okay.
it. Yeah, but so you can have like pretty productive okra plants if you keep the soil short, but still productive if you keep the soil low.
Okay. My wife did a master gardener class through Davidson County. Have you done any classes like that?
No,
Okay.
no. Everything I know, I just listen to listen to the people I buy food from, and then but I grew up. So both sides of my family were big farmers, like at least my grandparents, and then so I grew up sort of paying attention to them. Like that's where I kind of got the love for produce right off the garden, was from my grandmother on my dad's side, Grandma Jett. She's the Appalachian, like she's the, you know, uh, you go and table in the summer and there's slices of tomato on the table, slices of cucumber on the table. And it's like, it's just so alive.
Yeah.
And fresh and vibrant. And and grandpa, he could grow some tomatoes. He was incredible at it, but they really are the best you're ever going to get. And it's just because it's all, the travel time from that vine to that plate, so minimal.
Yep. I am a pretty big music nerd and studied recording techniques and all that. And I will sometimes overanalyze, okay, you have your microphone. Well, what cable did you use? What compressor? You can go through every single step of the way of how you get to the end result. And I feel like you can do that with gardening. Absolutely. Of okay, what soil did you use? What's your water source? Everything can be tweaked just a little bit, and then you can notice the difference.
He was doing he'll tell you right away is the first thing to tomatoes is to add magnesium to soil at a very specific, right when you see the flowers start to add magnesium around a foot diameter around the.
Sure.
And then the magnesium soaks up into the tomatoes and reacts with the calcium that's naturally present in the tomato. And he doesn't know that. He just knows that magnesium makes the tomato delicious, or he did know. And but me now knowing what the chemical reaction is the calcium and the magnesium are reacting with each other, and they're firming up the cell walls, which is creating a juicier tomato. Yeah.
Or I had friends who would do how you compose your garden bed, even of hey, we're gonna put basil next to this, whenever you put herbs next to tomatoes, and then suddenly you can taste there's so many little things that you can do with everything that it is actually so intelligent and so fascinating, and takes so much more patience than I have.
Companion plants, barrier
plants, man, it's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. And your beans feeding your corn protecting, giving your squash something to hold on to, and then squash protecting all of them from weeds growing.
Just a humorous story. Whenever we had our third kid, we thought it was going to be a girl because we had two girls, and we actually had planted a Three Sisters garden in our backyard, which, is the beans, corn, squash, and all of that. And the day we found out that it was a boy, a squirrel had come through and eaten all the seeds out of the ground. So it killed our Three Sisters garden the same time we realized we weren't going to have three sisters. And it felt very like the universe was speaking to us.
That is, yeah, fateful stuff right there.
So, but anyway, Sam, since I know you're taking time away from your family and bedtime and all of that, I do want to go ahead and start wrapping up. That way you can at least somewhat talk to your wife before you fall asleep. Sam, how we end every episode is we ask every guest a series of 5 questions. They aren't rapid fire, so you can think about them for a bit. So the first question is, did you have any backup names for your daughters?
No. We knew if we were going to have a boy, it was going to be named James after my dad.
Okay.
And if we had the first girl, we knew was going to be named Charlotte. Okay. That's where we met in Charlotte. And so those two we knew. And then Lily, Amanda loves that name, and I really wanted to name her. I really wanted James to be in there. So James is her middle name, and Lily James is the parents of Harry Potter.
It is. That's so cool.
So that's our nerddom of it. But like it just kind of came together, and yeah, no, we didn't. I don't know. We were lucky on that, I guess.
That's cool. That's awesome. I would have never put two and two together that Lily and James, do you have a Harry Potter daughter? That's awesome. Next question. Do you have a favorite TV or movie dad?
TV, Ned Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Movies. I'm torn on this one. I'm probably going to have to go with Clark Griswold.
Yep.
But I mean, there's also Steve Martin in Parenthood is
I know.
good, and Michael Keaton in Mr. Mom is really good. You know, but I think TV for sure, Ned Stark. Like, I don't think that's the kind of impact you want in your kid's life.
That's true. His death does kind of define the next 7 years of storytelling for that entire world.
Yeah.
That's cool. Next question. Do you have a replacement curse word? Like whenever you know you need to curse, but you don't want to say it around the kids?
I kind of let them fly.
Yeah.
Number one is shut the front door. I don't use it.
Yeah.
Say the word.
I like the pattern of son of a and then filling in the last word with something else. That way I'm tricking my mind that I'm getting 75% of the way there, but then pulling up at this last second. So also though, like if you work lines and like you're a chef, I feel like I'm just assuming vulgar mouse, kind of like people on a tour bus. Like it's not where it's just how it works. It's the world.
I mean, even during this conversation, I had to, we are explicit in everything, like every sense of the word. And, you know, luckily my kids are good and they know what I say.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Next question. What's like a favorite kids toy or activity that you like to do with your girls?
I mean, I think I really I do love the pool.
Mm-hmm.
I like to take them hiking. I like to take them out. I like to, but I think my favorite is the holidays, man. Like really? I don't can beat like Christmas morning or Halloween or like, that's just awesome. Like that joy that they experience during those times is like, there's no better. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think this 4th of July was the first time our kids all enjoyed the fireworks and one of them wasn't scared. And watching all three of them run around and be like amazed and be like, did you see that? About everything was like, this is fun. This is
fun. Yeah, this year was better. It's still, you know, like they were still getting over the loudness at the beginning. Like towards the end, they were all about it. And we even got them to light a few, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's when it's going to get real fun.
Okay. And then last question. Is there a moment of your daughter's life you're like most excited to see or be a part of as you watch them grow up?
This one's going to be a little bit probably of an antithetic answer, but I'm more looking forward to, and I know I'm looking forward to that moment where she's messed up really, really bad or made a huge mistake. And then she knows that she can come to me. Like that moment where she feels unconditional love, like right then and there. I don't think that, you know, that there's always the beautiful things in life that people are looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to all of those, like walking, you know, like that when I told when I started to lose all the weight and stuff like that, I told my wife, like, I'm doing this so I can walk her down the aisle. You know, like I want to be like, I have a reason to exist for a very long time now. And so I want to do that. And so that all is there. And I want to watch her graduate and I want to watch her become a badass in whatever she chooses to be.
Yeah.
But like that moment, I think that like pure real moment of the first time where it's like, whatever it is, you know, to find that safety net, I think is going to be, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I experienced it with like my parents and stuff like that. So I just know how special it is.
I think the concept of unconditional love, not with any judgment meant, you can tell when someone believes they're loved no matter what happens to them. And you can tell the people who question it every single time they do something wrong. And I would much rather have my kids know no matter what happens, they are loved and that they are worthy of love. And if I can figure out how to communicate that, that's a legacy. Yeah.
And you can say it all day long and you communicate it all day long and all those things, but you don't know it till it's real.
You don't.
And that's the thing. It's like, you just don't. And like, you know, and that's the moment where they're going to know it's real.
It is. And you don't wish like hard times on your kids, but there's the reality of like,
it's just life. Man.
Yeah, it's just life. They're going to be an idiot in high school and you're going to need to be there to be like, hey, I've still got you. You're good. Trust me, you're good.
No matter what. Doesn't matter. Yeah. No, everybody has hard times. There is no everything's up all the time.
No. Sadly, as much as all social media feeds would like to tell us, it's
Yeah.
not sadly reality.
Exactly.
You don't perfectly plate everything you dish, Sam? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm a good plater, but I'm not that good.
That's awesome. Then the only other thing I have for you is just like moment for self-promotion. Like I know you've been doing more on Instagram to promote Audrey's and all of that. So if we wanted to like follow you, should we just come to Audrey's and be like, hey, how's Sam doing today?
Yeah, to come by, say hi. I'm there most of the time. I mean, like it's an open kitchen, so you can see me.
Really?
Yep. You just wave, and then Instagram. Yeah, Audrey Nashville. I think it's Samuel.Jett.
Okay.
My Instagram. I'll be posting more. I'm trying.
Yeah, right.
Make a concerted effort to do that.
It's exhausting, but thank you for finding the time to do an episode. I feel like you do like a million things every single day. So sincerely, thank you for taking an hour just to hang out and talk about life for a bit.
Yeah, I really, it was my first ever anything like this. So this was a lot of fun. I really glad that we did it finally. And
yeah, man.
Yeah, it was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate a ton. Appreciate all the work you do for the Nashville food scene, and like not to sound elitist, but to like do it right. You know, like
try it. We'll see if I can make it happen.
I bet you care quite a bit, and you're willing to put in the work. So I think you'll be okay, Sam.
I appreciate that.
Yes, but yeah, man, go spend some time with your wife. Enjoy whatever until you fall asleep on the couch, as all dads do. And I'll talk to you next time. All right, man.
All right. See you then.
Cool. Appreciate it, Sam. Thank you for listening to the episode.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wildfeathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.